I remember being about 10, 11 years old, and I went to see Terminator 2 with my parents at a movie theater in Orlando, Florida, and seeing Edward Furlong and having these feelings for a boy that really, really confused me to no end, and realizing at a very young age that I am gay. But being brought up in a born-again Christian family that I loved dearly, but always hearing how being gay is evil and being gay is wrong, it really messed with my head a lot. And as much as I was excited with these new feelings that I had, I was also absolutely terrified. I was terrified of disappointing my family, of hurting my mom and my dad, and this is before I even knew what society thought of homosexuality and bisexuality and transgender, and this is all foreign to me in 1990. And it made me go into a kind of confused depression that lasted through my entire teenage years. And it got me to a very dark place because I ended up hating myself and I wanted to change myself. And I tried to be into girls and dating girls and kissing girls, but it never felt right. It always felt wrong. And the more I pushed myself to do these things that I thought I was supposed to be doing to make others happy, it made me more and more sad. And I ended up with this extreme case of self-loathing that I turned to cutting. And I would sit in the shower and take the razor blade and cut my arms, cut my chest. And it was the only time that I actually felt alive in this weird way, because I was so filled with pain of my own self-hatred, because I thought there was something seriously wrong with me. And I felt like a failure and a disappointment. And I felt that no matter what I do, I would never be accepted and that I would never be loved because I was born evil. I would tell people, if anything, I was bi, because I thought there was such a bad stigma with the word gay. And I got into this darkness that encompassed my entire life on the inside. On the outside, I was hanging out, I had friends, and everything would be happy-go-lucky, but in my room at night, I would cry, or I would go in the shower and I would cut, and I would hide the scabs and the scars from my parents' long sleeves, or cutting in spots where I know they wouldn't see or no one would see. And it was a really, really tough time trying to figure out who I was and why was I this way, and if I can change it. When I was 20 years old, I was gay bashed, and by people that I actually went to elementary school with, and they beat me up pretty badly. And it was a very scary moment for me that made me kind of go even more so into the closet, and fear of not just coming out, but of just being who I am, because is this the way my life is going to be? Is this how people are going to react to me? I never thought things were going to get better. I just felt this complete hopelessness that consumed me. And even being medicated, what it did was not stop the depression, but I kind of just went numb. And I didn't feel much of anything. I just knew I didn't really want to be around. I didn't want to live. And these constant thoughts of suicide and taking my own life were there. And it was very hard to deal with that. But I was also terrified to take my own life, not only because of my Christian upbringing and, you know, who the hell wants to go to hell? And that was what was instilled in my mind. I had actually known Sylvia Rivera, who is a transgender icon who actually started the riot at Stonewall back in the 60s. I actually knew her personally because she lived up the block from me in Park Slope, Brooklyn. And we became friends for about a year or two before she passed away. And she helped me a lot as well, especially to hear the strength of someone who not only was just, you know, the LGB part of LGBT, but the T part. And that's something that I have the utmost respect for. Because as someone that found it so hard to accept myself just being a gay man, I can't imagine what someone who's trans goes through. All of my 20s, I was abusing cocaine and painkillers quite bad. I didn't know how to deal with life, and how even though I've had a bit of success in my life, you know, television and concerts and becoming a media personality and a music personality, a lot of my dreams came true. And I'm very, very grateful for all that. But at the same time, I started feeling even more worse because I felt like a lie a lot of the time because I was high. Even to start my day, I would wake up, have a beer, and pop a Percocet or do a line. And whether I was working, whether I was doing a TV show or hosting a concert or DJing, and being someone that's got a bit of popularity, it was so easily accessible to get my hands on any of these party favors. And most of the time, they were free because people want you to like them and they want you to hang out and they want to see the party guy. And I made a joke out of the whole thing for years saying, I'm a professional partier. Little did I realize that I was on my way to my grave. And it wasn't until my mom got sick that I realized something had to give and I had to change, because the last thing I wanted was to overdose and die and kill my mom from a broken heart before the disease had a chance to take her. Once I stopped taking the psychiatric medication and you know, I started dealing with things on my own as I got older, around 19, 20, and I started getting into acting, and I did some theater with this group Faces. And I got to visit Germany and Switzerland to perform on stage with some incredible people. I was able to thankfully find an outlet and something where I can put all these emotions and these feelings of despair and confusion and anger. And also, I found a solace in music, specifically the music of Marilyn Manson. His album Antichrist Superstar was really what triggered something in me mentally, that I didn't want to die. I wasn't alone. There was someone out there just as fucked up as I am, but that really made something of himself and really broke down the barriers of what religion speaks and to what being a good person is as compared to an evil person. And I finally started to feel some sort of balance. And in my 20s, I discovered Otep, and Otep's first album, Sevestra, it did for me in my 20s what Manson's Antichrist Superstar did for me in my teen years. As I've gotten older, now in my 30s, a few friends of mine, my buddy CT and my friend Jessica Pimentel and a few others have really instilled in me how meditation can really, really help. So now I try to meditate on a daily basis, whether it be when I first wake up or when I'm in the shower or when I'm going to sleep. I'll take a good half an hour, or even just 20 minutes, and just sit and reflect and breathe. A couple of years ago, my mom passed away from cancer. Watching her deteriorate and crumble, even though she fought valiantly, it fucked me up. And I started doubting everything about life, because this is a woman that didn't drink, she didn't smoke cigarettes, she wouldn't even take a Tylenol for a headache. She was very careful with sunblock, and she just always did the right thing to make sure not only that she was always healthy, but her family and those that she cared about was. There's this weird balance that's not balanced at all. But with dark times and good times, one always seems to follow the other. Although at a lot of the time it seems the dark times aren't going to go away, but they eventually do. And the good times do tend to roll in and start to happen. And one thing I've learned in my life at 37 years old now is you got to focus on the good. Because even though it doesn't seem like there's as much good as there is bad and dark, but even those little slivers of brightness and sunshine and happiness, you got to hold on to them, because that's what makes life worth living, in my opinion. You matter, you're needed, and you rock.